Hey everyone, if you've ever had to work with data, you know the feeling. It's just chaos, right? It's scattered everywhere, it's in a million different formats, and trying to see the big picture can feel pretty much impossible. Well, today, we're going to dive into the one AWS service that's specifically designed to bring some order to all that chaos, AWS Glue.
Just think about your setup. You've got your main application data sitting in an RDS database. Then you have tons of user files just piling up in S3 buckets. Oh, and don't forget that NoSQL data over in DynamoDB. Every single piece is valuable on its own, but they're all living in their own little silos. So how in the world do you bring all of that together for some real, meaningful analysis or machine learning?
And that is exactly where AWS Glue steps in. It's built to be the connective tissue for your entire data universe. It's that one central service that can go out, find, prepare, and then integrate all those different sources for you.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what Glue actually is. Then we'll look at how its crawlers are like little data detectives. We'll get into the central data catalog, and then, the really fun part, its ETL engine. We'll see how it all comes together to power some serious analytics, and we'll wrap up with the key takeaways, especially for those of you studying for a certification exam.
Okay, so first things first. What is AWS Glue? I think the best way to wrap your head around it is to picture a super smart digital librarian combined with a really efficient data workshop, all rolled into one service.
Now, the official definition is that AWS Glue is a serverless data integration service. The two words to really lock onto there are serverless and integration. Serverless is huge, right? It means you don't have to manage any of the underlying servers or infrastructure, which is just a massive operational win. And integration? Well, that's its whole reason for being. To discover, catalog, and then transform your data so it's finally ready for some real analysis.
All right, let's start with that librarian part of our analogy. Before you can organize a library, you've got to know what books are even on the shelves. And in the data world, that's exactly what a Glue crawler does.
So a crawler is this automated program that you just point at your data, you tell it, hey, go look in this S3 bucket or scan this RDS database, and it just goes. It intelligently scans everything and automatically figures out the structure, the schema of your data. It does all of that tedious heavy lifting for you so you don't have to.
Now, what's really cool is what happens with all that information the crawler finds. All of its discoveries are used to build the AWS Glue Data Catalog. You can think of this as the MasterCard catalog for every single piece of data you own.
And what this catalog stores is something called metadata. It's a really simple concept, but it's incredibly powerful. It's not the data itself, it's just data about your data. Kind of like the label on a file folder, right? It tells you what's inside without you ever having to open it up.
This catalog pretty much becomes your single source of truth for data. It's this central place that knows the location of your data, what the tables are called, what the column schemas look like, and the file formats. So now, any other AWS service, say an analytics tool, can just look up the data's blueprint right here in the catalog.
Okay, so our librarian has gone out and cataloged everything. It's all neat and tidy. Now it's time to head over to the data workshop. This is where AWS Glue does its ETL, or extract, transform, and load jobs. This is where we turn raw materials into a finished product. A Glue job is a pretty classic three-step process. First, it extracts the raw data from wherever it's living. Second, it transforms that data. And this is where the real magic happens. You can clean it up, get rid of duplicates, enrich it with other information, or even join totally separate data sets together. And finally, it loads that brand new prepared data into its final destination, like a Redshift data warehouse or maybe just back into S3.
So why are we going through all this trouble? Well, because this whole process is what unlocks the actual value hidden in your data. This is the payoff. This is where you can finally start generating those powerful insights for the business.
Let's use a classic example to make this real. Imagine you have clickstream data, what users are clicking on your website, and it's all stored in an RDS database. And at the same time, you've got detailed customer info, like purchase history, just sitting in files on S3. Right now, those are two completely separate worlds.
So a Glue ETL job can go and extract data from both of those sources. But the really amazing part happens in that transform step, where it actually joins the two data sets. It can match a user's clickstream activity with their customer profile, creating this single enriched data set that is way more valuable than the two separate pieces ever were.
And this is the end goal, right? That unified data can now be loaded into a service like Amazon Redshift to power BI dashboards. You can run super complex analytical queries against it, or you can even use it to train sophisticated machine learning models. You've literally turned raw, disconnected data into actionable intelligence.
Okay, for anyone studying for an AWS certification, let's just boil this all down into a quick cheat sheet. These are the things you absolutely positively have to know about AWS Glue.
So let's run through it. Glue is a fully serverless ETL service. Remember that. Its crawlers automatically discover schemas and build a data catalog. That catalog is your central metadata repository. Its entire job is preparing data for analytics and ML, and it can load that data into places like S3, Redshift, and more. Got it?
And here it is. This is probably the single most important takeaway. If you're in an exam and you see a question that mentions ETL and a data catalog in the same sentence, your brain should immediately scream AWS Glue. It is the service that combines both of those functions together so seamlessly. That's your keyword combo.
And really, that brings us back to the main idea. AWS Glue isn't just about tidying up your data. It's about enabling discovery. It's about turning that chaos into clarity. So the real question to leave you with is this. Once your data is perfectly organized and connected, what new, more powerful questions are you finally going to be able to ask?